From the introduction of the Ford Model T to the release of the tremendous Tesla Model S Plaid, the American auto industry spawned some of the greatest cars ever built. But US-based automakers also sold quite a few lemons and four-wheel disasters. Here we bring you the worst cars ever in American history. Hit that like and subscribe, and let's begin. 1. 1971 Chevrolet Vega. The Chevy Vega debuted for the 1971 model year and appeared to be a spectacular success. Everything General Motors claimed to supply appeared to be present. At first glance, the Vega appeared to be a well-built, beautiful little automobile at a reasonable price. Motor Trend magazine named the 1971 Vega Car of the Year. However, the vehicle was riddled with problems that quickly rose to the surface, earning the Vega a spot on this list. By 1972, Chevrolet had recalled 500,000 Vegas due to a number of faults. The most serious issue was Vega's new aluminum block engine, which was prone to self-destructive behavior. If owners did not carefully monitor and maintain coolant levels, the engine cylinder walls would overheat and deform. Overheating would result in excessive coolant and oil consumption, ultimately leading to catastrophic engine failure. The performance engine tended to backfire so strongly that it would occasionally rupture the mufflers. The burst silencer would then cook the fuel tank, causing it to heat up and expand, resulting in seam collapse and fuel gushing all over the road. There have been incidents of car fires due to this. The flaws were all resolved by around 1974, but the early issues made the car a middling success for GM when it could have been a spectacular success. 2. The Ford Edsel. Was the Ford Edsel a horrible vehicle? No, the car wasn't bad. It made the list for being a car that both launched and failed an automobile division after 3 model years. The Edsel, introduced with enormous fanfare thanks to a marketing push, made its premiere in late 1957 to cricket fans. The marketing campaign promised the public a new wonder car from the same firm that revolutionized the automobile industry with the Model T and mass production of the V8 engine. What the public received was essentially an ugly alternative to the Mercury. The Edsel's front grille was frequently criticized for its ugliness, while the Mel Series engines were adequate, but lacked fuel efficiency. Ford also debuted the car amid a recession that disproportionately affected medium-priced vehicles like Edsels. The models performed poorly and most likely cannibalized sales from Ford's Mercury business. Ford destroyed the whole Edsel division in 1960 after losing a few $100 million, which was a large number in 1960 dollars. 3. Pontiac Aztek. Continuing the subject of a car that killed an automotive division, the Pontiac Aztek. Widely derided for its style and construction quality, the design was the product of attempting to make the automobile adaptable while spending little money on development. The car is awkwardly proportioned. Tall, skinny, with small tires and copious quantities of cheap plastic cladding, the Aztek was a car that attempted to do everything and did it all poorly. It appears on this list because it helped throw Pontiac sales into a tailspin and is widely regarded as the failure that killed the company in 2010. 4. The Cadillac Cimarron. While some claim that the Pontiac Aztek killed Pontiac, the Cimarron almost killed Cadillac. For the 1982 model year, Cadillac decided to dress up the tiny front-wheel drive chassis used by cars like the low-cost Chevy Cavalier and sell it as a Cadillac. The Cimarron was simply a badge-engineered, optioned-out Cavalier, marketed at a premium price. Cadillac promoted the Cimarron as a luxurious compact. Nonetheless, it suffered from the same issues and shortcomings as its low-cost counterparts in terms of ride, power, drivability, and dependability. GM wanted to sell an existing, low-cost platform at a premium. The outcome was dismal sales and a blow to Cadillac's reputation, which was already damaged by the 864 engine crisis in 1981. Cadillac officials nearly unanimously decided to discontinue the Cimarron in 1988. By then, Cadillac's market share was roughly 2%. 5. The GM X-Body platform, 1979 to 1985. As previously stated, GM was badly operated in the late 1970s and early 1980s. Import competition forced the manufacturer to reduce shortcuts and rush poorly manufactured vehicles to market. When the X-Body platform debuted in 1980, GM models were plagued by poor engine, gearbox, and build quality. The Chevrolet Citation, Buick Skyhawk, Oldsmobile Omega, and Pontiac Phoenix hit the market, ushering in a new era for GM customers. Unfortunately for buyers, these cars had severe flaws. The braking system functioned badly and dangerously, with GM and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration (NHTSA) battling over the rear brake's tendency to lock up quickly. Another popular issue was that the cars tended to torque steer, which caused the vehicle to pull in one direction and required active correction on the part of the driver. The cars were often poor performers, rough and unrefined for their price, and held up poorly over time. Along with a slew of other difficulties with GM vehicles, the X-Body helped damage the company's reputation for several years. 6. Any V8-equipped 1981 Cadillac. If you bought a V8-powered Cadillac new in 1981, you got one of the worst vehicles ever marketed to consumers. Cadillac embraced computer technology in 1981, developing a multiple displacement system for its 368 cubic inch L61 V8 engine. When cruising, the computer would operate a series of electric solenoids to disengage the valve train on 2 or 4 cylinders, lowering fuel consumption. Unfortunately, the computational power available in 1981 was insufficient, and the system struggled to determine the optimal number of cylinders to stay active. Drivers reported continual surging and faltering as the computer sought to adapt. The separate digital fuel injection system of the period frequently conflicted with the multiple displacement system, significantly complicating drivability. Cadillac attempted to address the issue with over a dozen software upgrades, but the problems persisted, and the engine and different displacement systems were phased out after one model year. 7. Any Crossley made from 1946 to early 1949. Crossley, a name better associated with radios than cars, manufactured automobiles between 1939 and the early 1950s. Like the last article, these vehicles are generally well built, but hindered by their engines. The Cobra engine got its name from the fact that it was built without the traditional cast iron or aluminum blocks and cylinder heads. Instead, Crossley employed pressed sheet metal that was copper brazed together, which lowered weight and potential hotspots in the engine, lowering the chance of detonations. Crossley tried from 1946 until early 1949 to make the engines more reliable but failed. Therefore, a traditional cast iron replacement engine was introduced that year. However, the Cobra engine harmed the company's reputation, and Crossley discontinued its automobile ambitions a few years later. 8. Chrysler TC by Maserati. While working at Ford, Lee Iacocca formed a bond with Alejandro de Tomaso, which led to the development of the de Tomaso Pantera. More than a decade later, Iacocca and de Tomaso collaborated again to design an Italian-American Grand Tourer. This time, Iacocca led Chrysler, while de Tomaso owned Maserati. The result was the Chrysler TC, a LeBaron modified by Maserati and built in Italy. The TC was developed as an image builder to provide Chrysler with an exciting product, but it was a failure and was withdrawn after only a few years on the market. It was a combination of mediocre styling, ordinary performance, and high prices. Many critics also said that the Chrysler TC bore an uncanny resemblance to the LeBaron GTC convertible, which was far cheaper and had identical characteristics. Chrysler sold only 7,300 TCs throughout 3 model years. In 2019, Bob Lutz stated that the TC project cost Chrysler almost $600 million, equating to $80,000 for each car. That amounts to almost $160,000 in 2021. 9. The Dale. The worst is kept until last on this list. The Dale, promoted by the 20th Century Motor Car Company from 1974 to 1978, is the worst because it was a complete deception on American consumers. The Dale, named after designer Dale Clift, was touted as a remedy to high fuel prices and shortages in the mid-1970s. The Dale, a 3-wheeled lightweight car, claimed to obtain more than 80 miles per gallon on a small sub-1-liter engine. The marketing campaign sparked widespread interest, with a model of the Dale appearing as a prize once manufacture began. On the game program The Price is Right in 1975, Liz Carmichael, the owner of 20th Century Motor Car Company, claimed to have significant investment funds and the competence to compete with major automakers. Carmichael began selling stock in her car company, stating that sales would exceed 300,000 in the first 2 years. However, the corporation repeatedly delayed production announcements while selling stock, increasing concerns. All of the promises about capital and production facilities were false. With media and government agencies probing the corporation for fraud, Carmichael fled into hiding and the company failed. Carmichael was finally apprehended in 1989 and sentenced to 18 months in prison for scamming investors. That's all for today, Motorheads. Let us know in the comments which car was the worst. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting content. Ever wondered what cool features old muscle cars had that we just don't see in today's rides? Check this video to find out what we're missing.